Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 90 of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. We're going to pick two random SoulsBorne bosses, and then they will be tasked with helping to clean up in Times Square after the festivities of New Year's Eve. And whoever cleans up their section the fastest will be the winner. They're going to need help down there. They're going to need a lot of help down there. Although I will say they do a really good job down there. I'm sure they have a lot of people helping out down there in New York City when they do their cleanup after the festivities of New Year's Eve and the ball drop and all that stuff. But they do a great job. But I'm sure they wouldn't mind a little extra help. Although the kind of help I'm providing is probably not the kind of help they're looking for. But you know, I do what I can, so we'll just have to see how that goes. All right, the battlefield has been cleared. It can house any and all SoulsBorne bosses, and it has housed all of them at least once in a SoulsBorne Battle Royal some months ago that we held here. That was won by Dancer of the Boreal Valley. There are pretty close to 100 bosses in this little generator that I've created, and some special spots that can create some interesting scenarios, such as the aforementioned Battle Royal that took place. So we are going to stop this wheel, and we are going to see who the first participant is going to be on this episode 90 of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. The Deathrite Bird from Elden Ring. Deathrite birds are tough, man. They are tough. I have pretty sure I've talked before about the character Freya. Was that her name that I created in Elden Ring? The Norse god of death, Norse goddess of death, I should probably say. She was the character that was closest to being able to go into the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. So she was really the only one I had available. It was not my strongest character. But I had her going around to collect all the death magic that was available in the game. So I basically revamped her entirely by the time I got to the end of the game to fight Promised Consort Radahn, because her death magic was just not going to cut it against Radahn. That was a tough fight. But yeah. Anyway, Deathrite birds. They're tough. They're very tough. They hit hard. They can hit from afar. They're fast. They're a pain in the ass. That's pretty much all I can really say about that. And I think most of you will agree with me on that. So there you go. The Deathrite bird is participant number 1, and we are going to take this wheel for another spin. We are going to find an opponent for the Deathrite bird here on SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. I had the Death Bird in here too. I think I might have taken him out. There's no reason to have the Deathrite bird and the Death Bird. They're relatively the same thing. So yeah, it was just straight up nonsense. So I got rid of the Death Bird. And the lore is like there's no lore in the Death Bird, really. There's barely any lore in the Deathrite bird, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, as it is, we're gonna have the Deathrite bird helping to clean up Times Square. So sure, that's gonna be fun times for the people of Times Square. They're really gonna thank me for that one. All right, in one corner we have the Deathrite bird, and in the other corner, on this episode 90 of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death, we have Mohg, Lord of Blood. That's somewhat ironic. I guess, in a way, kind of. Kind of, but not really. I guess Mohg is the Lord of Blood, not necessarily of death, so this is an interesting fight. This is definitely an interesting fight. And Mohg is tough as well. Mohg is he is definitely a pain in the ass boss as well, and he has his own challenges that you have to overcome. So I think this is definitely an interesting fight. So it's definitely an upper mid card fight, shall we say, for this little card that we're putting together, I guess. So yeah, the Deathrite Berg against Mohg, Lord of Blood. We are going to now go to the contractually obligated bio, so let's have a look at the Deathrite Bird. Not a ton of lore surrounding the Deathrite Birds in Elden Ring. They're kind of secondary bosses, and there's several of them. But they are gigantic decaying birds that apparently have encrusted corpses in their body, which I had not noticed, and now we'll have to take a closer look. They are partially covered in ghost flame and guarded by the spirits of the servants of death inside their wings. They were called graveyard firekeepers. Firekeepers? Is there some kind of connection between Elden Ring and Dark Souls 3 after all? And their purpose was to tend the ghost flame by raking the ashen remains of the death of their kiln. Whatever that means. They used to be much more active before the Erdtree existed, and now they're seen as malevolent entities by some. Priests of old were permitted to come among the death birds and act as their guardians, and that would be, the exchange would be they'd be resurrected in the distant future. So that was their reward, I guess. And I guess some priests can be seen inside their wings wielding death ritual spears. Again, I'm gonna have to check that out. That actually kind of sounds cool. I'm very familiar with the Deathrite Birds because I created a character in Elden Ring by the name of Freya, Norse goddess of death. So I wanted her to be proficient in the ghost flame. So I went around and collected all the ghost flame spells and weapons and such, and I did enjoy her as a character. And fun side note, when the DLC Shadow of the Erdtree came out, she was the only one of the characters that I had that was close enough to get into the DLC without having to do anything extra. So I went through the DLC playing as her, and even though I loved her, she was not my strongest character. So I think it made the DLC all the more challenging. But yeah, just a fun little side note. But yeah, the Deathrite Birds are no joke, and they have powerful spells and are fast and powerful and a pain in the ass. And there's several of them in the world, and you have to beat them in order to get those spells. There's no other way to get them. So yeah, they're certainly an interesting addition to the SoulsBorne universe. Mohg, Lord of Blood, is the offspring of Marika the Eternal and Godfrey, first Elden Lord. He's also the twin brother of Morgott. As a cursed omen, both were confined to the subterranean shunning grounds. But unlike his brother, Mohg embraced his omen blood, and he made contact with an outer god known as the Formless Mother, and she ignited his accursed blood with blood flame, which granted him powerful magic. After Marika shattered the Elden Ring, Mohg escaped confinement and claimed a great rune, and he established his domain in Mohgwood Palace. He started recruiting followers such as the Sanguine Nobles and the Bloody Fingers. Miquella the Unalloyed embedded himself in his Haligtree to attempt to shed himself of his affliction, and Mohg took advantage of this in order to abduct him, and he hoped to raise Miquella to godhood so that he could rule at his side as his consort. At some point during or after the abduction, Mohg got enchanted by Miquella somehow. How Miquella did this in a cocoon state is completely beyond me and probably everyone else. Mohg then hibernated with Miquella in the cocoon of the Empyrean and had his followers offer offerings of blood, which I don't know if that's what Miquella ordered, but apparently Mohg thought so. But no matter how many offerings Mohg offered up, Moog got no response from the young Empyrean. The Round Table Hold were searching for clues to Moog's whereabouts, but Moog somehow managed to escape notice. Until one day a Tarnished just wandered into Mogwyn Palace and, once again, as we always do in these games, just screw everything up. We just, walk into these, assorted places and just ruin these people's lives over and over and over again. You, as the Tarnished, finally defeat Moog and put him to rest. And following his death, his corpse is stolen and transported to the Land of Shadow, where Miquella utilizes it for an ancient ritual at the Gate of Divinity. And Miquella uses Moog's body as a vessel to revive the soul of Radahn, so that Radahn can be Miquella's consort. That's got to sting Moog a little bit. Moog wanted to be the consort. I guess in a way he kind of ends up being the consort, but not really, because it's actually Radahn and not Moog. Moog is a tough boss, and his blood flame is very difficult to combat. And he can hit it from all kinds of different angles, and he has a great variety of attacks with it. And I don't know about anybody else, but I've always had trouble with Moog, fighting him over and over and over again. Especially with his the little curse thing that he does. It's very, very damaging. And obviously in the later stages, as most bosses do in these games, he gets much more aggressive. Moog is no joke, much like most of the bosses in these games, but Moog is a special variety, I think. Certainly not one to be taken lightly, and I think Moog in Battle to the Death is there's a lot of bosses that Moog could give them a lot of trouble. So I think we'll find some interesting fights as we continue to land on Moog and in the continuing stages of SoulsBorne Battles to the Death. So I guess we'll just have to see what kind of fantasy encounters we can generate as we follow along our path here in this little game that we are creating. So I don't know how many people are going to agree with me, but I think this is one hell of a fight. And I think the Deathbird more than stands a chance here against Moog, Lord of Blood. Deathrite birds are very tough. I said that earlier. And they have a lot of attacks, and they hit very hard, and they can hit from a distance. Imagining this fight is actually kind of fun in my head, now that I really think about it. Deathrite birds are not to be messed with. They can deal with you very, very quickly. So yeah, it is certainly Deathrite birds are nothing to sneeze at. Not at all whatsoever. That being said, I think if even if you take the Deathrite bird and bring it up to Moog's level and make it an even fight, as we would in this scenario, I think Moog, Lord of Blood, is just too much for the Deathrite bird to handle. I think Moog is very powerful, and he certainly has a lot of unique tools at his disposal. And he also hits very hard, and also certainly not one to be trifled with. So I think that's my verdict in this scenario. I think even though it would be an excellent fight, and I think both sides would definitely beat the crap out of each other, I think Moog, Lord of Blood, walks away the victor in this fight. But that is just my opinion. Feel free to leave yours in the comments. And with that, yet another edition of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death draws to a close. RobertBlanchardBooks.com. If you're interested in the award-winning Roar of a Dragon series, you can read the first 3 chapters of each book there for free. If you'd like to hear more about them, the Rise of Dragons podcast, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. My Linktree, my Instagram, and my Twitter, all Bobby's World 2110. Mondays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right now is the Dark Souls Remastered No Estus run. Mondays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the Dark Souls Remastered No Estus run. This past Monday, I figured out where I was supposed to be, and we have finally ventured into Sen's Fortress, which I actually thought was a lot farther into the game. I am there now, and much less frustrated than I have been in the catacombs, so that is a very good thing. Back in the archives, I have the Elden Ring No Crimson Flask run, I have the Sekiro No Healing Gourd run, I have the Dark Souls 3 No Estus run, and the Dark Souls 3 No Level Up run. So that is all back in the archives for you to check out, along with all kinds of Hunger Games and the Your Father's Story videos that are there for your viewing pleasure. I have the live stream up where I took my no level up build against the Nameless King. A couple hours of doing that. That was a fun time, so go and check that out. Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is what you're watching right now. SoulsBorne Battle to the Death, so I don't really have to explain to you exactly what that is because you just watched it. So, yeah, that is pretty much all I have for you. Leave a like, subscribe, notifications, and all that jazz. I appreciate all the love and support very, very much. There's been a lot of it lately, and that's been awesome. And that makes doing this stuff a lot easier to do. I mean, I love doing it anyway, but it's just been so tiring with work and, you know, things going on at home. And now during the Christmas season and all this stuff, you know, it's just been a lot going on. So I'm just pushing forward as good as I possibly can. So, yeah, the growth and the love and all that stuff has been amazing to see, and that's been very much appreciated. So there's a thank you video also, and you know, from a couple weeks back if you want to check that out. So that is very that is there for you to watch, is the words I'm trying to find. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Where are we at? This is New Year's Eve, isn't it, when you're going to be watching this? So I hope everyone had an amazing Christmas. I hope that you have a very fun and safe New Year's Eve, and I hope the new year brings you much love and joy. So that is pretty much all I have for you, and I hope everyone has an amazing week. Be well, stay safe, and as always, it's Bobby's World, and you're all just living in it. See you for live, y'all. Bye.
Hey, boss.
Yes, Courtney.
Mrs. Anderson called. She wanted to order several copies of your books for family and friends.
Oh, that's amazing. Get some ordered, have them sent over to me, and I will sign them for her. I really appreciate it if you could do that for me.
I didn't know you were an author.
You did. Courtney, you've been with me for like 2 years now, and we've talked about it fairly constantly, and there's an ad at the end of every one of these videos.
Well, that doesn't mean that I listen to everything you tell me. Are the books any good?
Well, readersfavorite.com said that its intensity rivals that of the Game of Thrones series. I know, that's pretty crazy, but that's exactly what it says. It's on the Cry of a Raven review. Go check it out.
Well, that's pretty cool. What are the books about?
It's about a soldier who gets exiled for saving a baby dragon, and later he's killed, and he wakes up 3,000 years later with strange powers, and he's watched over by the very same dragon, and the world has been overrun by evil, and he now must travel back in time to stop the evil that started in his own home country.
Wow, that sounds interesting. How can I get copies of the books?
Well, you can go to robertblanchardbooks.com and order your copies there. You can read the first 3 chapters of each book there for free. And if you want to hear more about them, you can listen to the Rise of Dragons podcast.
You have a podcast too?
You know what, Courtney? You are doing such an amazing job that I think you are due for a raise. How does that sound?
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Thank you, boss.
You bet. Too bad the raise is going to be when I raise a water balloon over her head and just... Maybe I'll wait until her mom calls. I think she'll find that pretty funny. Go to robertblanchardbooks.com right now and get your copies of the series that got 3 5-star reviews from readersfavorite.com, 3 Author Shout Recommended Reads Awards, and 2 Literary Titan Silver Awards. You can read the first 3 chapters of each book there for free. Read more reviews, short stories, and much more. And if you want to hear more about them, you can listen to the Rise of Dragons podcast wherever you find your favorite podcasts.